The viewing screen showed the massive station floating in the darkness of space. Captain stood on the bridge of the KSS Harmony, watching the structure grow larger as they approached. His hands were steady on the armrest of his chair, but his mind was racing. This was it, humanity's first meeting with the Galactic Council. "We're being scanned again," said from the tactical station. She was young but sharp and trusted her instincts. "That's the 5th time in 10 minutes." "Let them scan," replied calmly. "We have nothing to hide." Behind him, Ambassador Park adjusted her formal jacket. She had spent 3 months preparing for this moment, learning what little they knew about galactic protocol. Earth had been discovered by accident when a trading vessel passed through their solar system. The aliens had been surprised to find intelligent life on the small blue planet. They had been even more surprised that humans were still using rockets and radio waves. "Captain, we're being hailed," said the communications officer. On screen, the image changed to show a creature that looked like it was made of living crystal. Light moved through its body in strange patterns. When it spoke, the translator turned its sounds into words. "Primitive vessel Harmony, you are cleared to dock at Bay 47. Remain in your ship until you are summoned." The screen went dark before it could respond. Moved to stand beside his chair. "Bay 47 is in the service section," she said quietly, "where they dock cargo ships and waste haulers." Nodded. "They're making a point." "They're being rude," muttered from her station. "Maybe," said, "but we smile anyway. We're here to make friends, not enemies." The docking process took another hour. When they finally received permission to leave their ship, and 2 security officers walked down the ramp into a corridor that smelled like old metal and chemicals. No one was there to greet them. They followed the signs to the council chambers, written in a dozen alien languages. The translator devices in their ears worked overtime. The council chambers were enormous. The ceiling was so high it disappeared into shadow. 5 platforms floated in the center of the room, each holding a different alien species. Recognized them from the briefing files. The crystal creature was a. Next to it floated a cloud of gas that somehow held shape. There was something that looked like a mass of insects moving as one. A tank of water held a squid-like creature. And finally, something that resembled a praying mantis the size of a human. Hundreds of other beings filled the viewing galleries around the room. The noise of their conversations was like a wave of sound. "Silence," said and instantly the room went quiet. It looked down at the 4 humans standing in the center of the floor. "You are the representatives of Earth." Stepped forward. She had practiced this moment 1,000 times. "Yes, honored council, I am Ambassador Park. This is Captain and our security detail. We come in peace and hope to join the galactic community." This gas cloud shifted colors. "We have reviewed your planet's data. You have submitted an application for council membership." "Yes, honored council." The mandibles clicked together in what might have been laughter. "You understand that membership requires certain technological and social standards." "We do," said. Her voice stayed steady even though could see the tension in her shoulders. The slight patterns changed. "Then you must understand that Earth does not meet these standards, not even close." Murmuring started in the viewing galleries. Some of it sounded like laughter. The spoke next, its voice a buzzing chorus. "Your species still uses kinetic projectile weapons, bullets and missiles. We have not seen such primitive tools in 10,000 years. Your people live less than 100 rotations," the added, its tentacles moving in the water. "Children by galactic standards." The flickered. "You have not developed faster-than-light travel on your own. The vessel you arrived in uses technology you purchased from us. You fight wars among yourselves," the continued. "Your planet is divided into competing factions. You destroy your own environment. You have poverty, crime, violence." Each statement felt like a slap. Watched's face. She was smiling, but he knew her well enough to see the anger in her eyes. the raised one crystalline limb. We find Earth to be a Class 9 primitive species, the lowest classification. You are not ready for Council membership. You are barely ready for contact. The viewing galleries erupted in noise. Heard laughter, clicking sounds, whistles, and things his translator couldn't identify. They were being mocked. Humanity's grand entrance to the galactic stage, and they were being laughed at like children. However, the continued and the room quieted again, the Council does recognize your right to exist. You will be granted a trade outpost in Sector 47 Gray. You may conduct limited commerce there. Perhaps in a few thousand years, your species will have evolved enough to apply again. More laughter. His jaw tightened, but he kept his face neutral. Bowed, it was a formal Earth gesture that the aliens probably didn't understand. The people of Earth thank the Council for this generous opportunity. We will make the most of it. The lights pulsed in what might have been surprise. You accept this judgment? We do, said. She was still smiling. We have much to learn from the galaxy. We look forward to proving ourselves worthy of your respect. The Council seemed uncertain how to respond to this. They had expected anger or pleading or shame. Instead, they got polite acceptance. Very well, they said finally, dismissed. The walk back to the ship felt longer than the walk there. No one spoke until they were safely inside with the airlock sealed. Threw her cap across the bridge. Class 9, they put us below species that haven't even left their home system. They laughed at us, one of the security officers said. His name was, and his hands were shaking with suppressed rage. In front of the whole galaxy. Looked at, she had dropped into the co-pilot's chair and was staring at nothing. Ambassador, he said gently. She looked up at him, and now her smile was different. It was sharp, dangerous. They think we're a joke, she said. They think we're primitives who got lucky enough to stumble into space. We kind of did, pointed out. Maybe, agreed, but they made a mistake. What mistake? Asked. Smile grew wider. They underestimated us. Every empire in Earth's history fell because they underestimated their enemies. The Mongols, the Americans, the Korean Armada, all of them were dismissed as primitive or weak, and all of them proved the laughing stopped when they showed what they could really do. Sat down in his captain's chair. He understood what she meant. The anger was fading, replaced by something else, something colder and more focused. Set course for Sector 47 Gray, he ordered. As the Harmony pulled away from the Council station, looked at the massive structure one more time. Let them laugh, he said quietly. We'll see who's laughing in a year. In the corner of the bridge, pulled up the data on Sector 47 Gray. What she saw made her grin. Captain, you're going to want to see this. The game was just beginning. The outpost in Sector 47 Gray was exactly what the Council had promised, which meant it was terrible. 3 prefabricated buildings sat on a small asteroid that barely had enough gravity to keep them attached. The life support systems were old models that wheezed and complained. The docking bay could hold maybe 5 ships if they squeezed together. There was 1 restaurant, 1 medical station, and 1 communications hub. Home sweet home, Sung Lee said as he inspected the main power generator. He was the Harmony's chief engineer, a man who could fix anything with enough time and the right tools. This thing is older than my grandmother. Can you make it work? Asked. Sung grinned. Captain, I can make anything work. Give me a week. That week turned into a month of hard labor. The crew of the Harmony worked alongside the small team of civilians Earth had sent to run the outpost. They repaired systems, cleaned filters, and basically rebuilt everything from scratch. One was in charge of trade operations. He was a former businessman from Seoul who had volunteered for the colony program. On his first day, he sat in the empty trading office and stared at the communication panel. So, he said to Song, who was setting up the cultural liaison office next door, how do we get customers when no one knows we exist? looked up from her boxes. She was young, barely 25, but she had a degree in and spoke 6 Earth languages. We advertise. With what? We don't have money for galactic commercials. That's when walked in holding a data tablet. She had been studying the sector maps for weeks. We don't need to advertise. Look at this. She projected a hologram into the air. It showed a 3-dimensional map of the local space. Red lines marked major trade routes. Blue dots marked stations and ports. Sector 47 gray is supposed to be worthless, explained. That's why the council gave it to us, but look where it is. Leaned forward, his eyes went wide. It's right in the middle of 3 major routes. Exactly, said, grinning. Ships traveling between the colonies and the pass within 5 light years of here. Same with traffic from the gas fields to the ocean worlds. The council didn't check their own maps carefully enough. Had joined them now, along with. They all stared at the hologram. If ships could stop here for supplies and rest, said slowly, they could cut their travel time by days. Or, added, if they wanted to avoid the council inspection stations on the main routes, they could detour through here. Sung stuck his head around the corner. Are we talking about becoming a truck stop? A very useful truck stop, said. Can you set up supply contracts? Already on it, Captain. The first ship arrived 2 weeks later. It was a small trading vessel operated by a species called which looked like walking mushrooms. The captain was surprised to find the outpost operational. You're the humans, it asked through the translator. That's right, said, meeting the captain at the docking bay. Welcome to Sector 47 Gray. We offer fuel, supplies, repairs, and rest facilities. Competitive rates. The captain looked around. The council said you were primitives. Smiled. Does it matter? Our fuel is cheap and our repairs are fast. The thought about this. No, I suppose it doesn't matter. Show me your prices. By the end of the month, they had serviced 20 ships. By the end of the second month, it was 50. Word spread through the trading networks that the human outpost was efficient, cheap, and most importantly, didn't ask too many questions. But something else was happening that no one expected. Noticed it first. She was talking to a merchant who had stopped for fuel. The insect-like alien was browsing the small market that had sprung up in the main building. What is this? They asked, holding up a data chip. Oh, that's human music, explained. Songs from Earth. We thought other species might find it interesting. They bought 3 chips. A week later, it came back for 10 more. My crew loves these, they explained. The emotional variations are fascinating. We've never heard anything like it. Most galactic music is very mathematical and predictable. This is chaotic, passionate, strange. Started offering more human culture. Books translated into galactic standard language. Movies, games, art. To her surprise, aliens bought everything. They were fascinated by human creativity, by the wild emotional swings in human stories, by the fact that humans seem to feel everything so intensely. We're selling feelings, she told one evening. They think we're primitive, but they're addicted to our emotional content. Laughed, whatever works. But the real change came when pirates tried to rob a merchant ship near the outpost. Picked up the distress signal on the sensors. Captain, we have a situation. A cargo ship is under attack. 3 vessels looks like raiders. Was in his quarters but arrived on the bridge within seconds. How far? 2 light minutes. The cargo ship is damaged. They won't make it to the outpost. In council space, the standard procedure was simple. The victim ship would surrender. The pirates would take what they wanted and leave. No one fought back. Fighting was considered barbaric and uncivilized. Most species had forgotten how to fight at all. Humans had not forgotten. Ordered, get your security team armed and ready. Sung, I need the Harmony ready to fly in 5 minutes. Captain, said carefully, the council protocols say we shouldn't interfere with internal galactic matters. Those protocols assume the Council is protecting its citizens, replied. But no one's protecting that cargo ship. If we don't help, those people will die. Nodded, then let's go protect them. The Harmony launched with a full security team aboard, and his people were carrying kinetic rifles, grenades, body armor, and everything else Earth militaries had been using for centuries. When they arrived, the pirates had already boarded the ship. The 3 pirate vessels were crewed, covered in weapons and armor plating. This is the KSSS Harmony to vessels, broadcast. Release the cargo ship and leave immediately. The response came back in a language the translator struggled with. The meaning was clear enough. It was laughter. They're ignoring us, said. Then let's stop being polite, said. Target their engines. Don't destroy them, just disable them. With pleasure, Captain. The Harmony's weapons were simple compared to galactic standards. They were missiles with explosive warheads that fired metal slugs at incredible speeds. Laser cutters meant for mining that could double as weapons. Nothing fancy. Nothing energy-shielded or quantum-phased or any of the other things galactic weapons used. But they worked. The first missile hit a ship's engine and the entire back section exploded. The ship went spinning off into space, powerless. What was that? The captain screamed over the channel. What kind of weapon? The second missile answered his question by hitting another pirate ship. And his security team breached the cargo ship using a technique that was old when Earth was young. They cut through the hull, tossed in stun grenades, and stormed inside with weapons ready. The pirates inside had never seen anything like it. They had shock sticks and energy nets, tools meant for intimidation. His team had rifles that fired bullets at supersonic speeds. The fight lasted 3 minutes. When it was over, they were tied up with their own nets. The crew was safe, and the third pirate ship was running away as fast as it could. The captain was a crystalline being named. It stared at as if seeing him for the first time. You fought them, said. No one fights pirates. We surrender and file insurance claims. Earth doesn't surrender, said simply. Are your people injured? Minor damage only, but you killed those pirates. Actually, we didn't kill any of them. They're all alive, tied up but alive. We'll hand them over to council authorities. Was silent for a long moment. The council laughed at your species. We know. They may have made a mistake. Smiled, we certainly hope so. News of the incident spread faster than light travel. Within days, everyone in 5 sectors knew that the humans had fought off pirates. The security footage went viral on galactic networks. Beings who had never heard of Earth were now watching videos of STEAM in action. The response was immediate. Ship captains started requesting human security escorts. Merchants asked if they could hire human guards. Within a week, had contracts worth millions of credits. Stood in the command center and watched the incoming messages pile up. We came here to survive, she said to. Now we're thriving. The council won't like this, warned. Smile was sharp. Then they shouldn't have underestimated us. Above them, more ships were arriving at the outpost. Sector 47 Gray was no longer a joke. It was becoming the most important trade hub in the region. And humanity was just getting started. The attack came exactly 6 months after humans had started protecting trade routes. Was the first to see it on the sensors. She had been tracking an unusual pattern of ships gathering at the edge of the sector. When the fleet finally moved, there were over 50 vessels. All of them were pirates. Captain, she said, her voice tight, we have a serious problem. Had been reviewing security reports in his office. He was on the bridge in seconds. Show me. The tactical display showed the incoming fleet like a swarm of angry insects. They were heading straight for Sector 47 Gray. They're sending a message, the communications officer said, putting it on screen now. The image showed a commander. The species looked like a cross between a wolf and a lizard, with scales and sharp teeth. This one had scars across its face and hatred in its eyes. "Humans," it growled, "you have interfered with business for the last time. You have destroyed our ships, captured our warriors, made us look weak. This ends now. Surrender your station or we will tear it apart and everyone inside it." The screen went dark. "Had arrived on the bridge. How long do we have?" "They'll be in weapons range in 4 hours," said. "How many ships do we have?" asked. "The Harmony, 2 patrol vessels and maybe a dozen civilian ships with light weapons," replied. He had been training security forces, but they had never faced anything like this. "Captain, we're outnumbered 20 to 1. We need to evacuate." Looked at the tactical display. 50 ships, thousands of pirates, against a small outpost and barely 200 humans. "No," he said quietly. Captain said, "We're not evacuating. If we run, they win. They'll take the station and everything we've built. More importantly, they'll prove that humans are cowards. Every species in the galaxy will see that we talk big but run when real danger comes." "But we can't win this fight," protested. Smiled, and it was not a nice smile. "Then we change what winning means. Start broadcasting an emergency signal. Tell every ship in the sector what's happening." "You want an audience?" asked. "I want witnesses," replied. "How many merchant ships are docked here right now?" The trader checked his console. 17, maybe 200 civilians total. "Get them moving. I want every civilian ship jumping to safe distance within the hour. Anyone who wants to stay and fight can volunteer, but I won't order civilians to die." "What about us?" Sung asked. The engineer had arrived with a tool belt still around his waist. "We stay," said. "We defend the station, and we show the what happens when they mess with Earth." The next 3 hours were controlled chaos. Civilian ships launched, carrying refugees to safety. Meanwhile, security forces prepared the station's defenses. Sung rigged up every weapon system they had, including several he built from spare parts. "I've turned our mining lasers into cutting torches," he explained. "They won't destroy ships, but they'll hurt, and I've loaded the cargo launchers with debris. We can shoot junk at them like shotgun pellets." Was coordinating with the few ships that chose to stay. A trading vessel with basic weapons, 2 merchant ships, even a small cargo hauler that had welding torches and a brave crew. "They want to help," said surprised. "They're not fighters, but they're staying anyway." "Understood. We protected them, now they want to protect us." When the fleet arrived, they expected to find a panicked outpost ready to surrender. Instead, they found defensive positions, armed ships, and a transmission from Captain. "Fleet, this is Captain of Earth. You have entered this sector with hostile intent. Turn back now and no one needs to die today." The commander's laughter filled the channel. "You think you can stop us, human? We are 50 ships strong. You are insects." "We're humans," corrected. "There's a difference. Last warning, turn back." The response was to open fire. The battle began like thunder in space. Energy weapons lit up the darkness. Missiles streaked between ships. They came in fast and aggressive, expecting easy prey. They were wrong. The Harmony moved like a dancer, using tactics that no galactic species had seen in 10,000 years. Evasive maneuvers, flanking attacks, coordinated strikes with the other defending ships, had fought in Earth's naval exercises. He knew how to command in combat. "Target that lead ship's weapons array. Sung, give me everything the engines can handle." The Harmony spun and dove, dodging energy blasts. It's fired metal slugs that punched through shields like paper. The slugs were simple, primitive, kinetic energy. The shields were designed to stop energy weapons. No one used bullets anymore. The lead ship's weapons exploded in a shower of sparks. "Direct hit," shouted. But there were too many. For every ship they damaged, 5 more took its place. The station's shields were failing. One of the merchant ships took a direct hit and went dark. Was on the station with his security team preparing for boarding parties. "They're going to try to take us by force," he told his people. "Remember your training. They expect us to surrender. Show them what Earth soldiers can do." The first boarding pod hit the station's hull like a battering ram. Warriors poured out, armed with shock weapons and energy nets. They moved in a tight group, howling their war cries. They ran straight into ambush. The humans had set up defensive positions in the corridors. They had motion sensors, trip wires, and overlapping fields of fire. When they rounded the corner, they walked into a wall of bullets. They had tough armor, but kinetic weapons at close range didn't care about armor. The first wave went down in seconds. The second wave hesitated, confused. Species didn't fight like this. Species didn't use these kinds of weapons. Tossed a grenade around the corner. The explosion was small but effective in the enclosed space. More fell. "Push them back," ordered. His team advanced, firing in controlled bursts. They retreated in disarray. They tried to regroup, but Dong, one of his best Marines, flanked them from a side corridor. He was a former soldier, a man who had seen real combat on Earth. He moved like a professional, calm and efficient. The boarding party was captured within 10 minutes. On the Harmony's bridge was coordinating the space battle. "We can't keep this up forever. We need to change the game." "What do you have in mind?" asked. "Sung, can you overload one of our damaged patrol ships?" The engineer understood immediately. "You want to make a bomb." "A big one. Lure as many ships as you can into a tight formation. Make them think we're running." It was risky. It was crazy. It was the kind of tactic that only worked if the enemy was arrogant and stupid. They were both. Broadcasted a fake distress signal, making it seem like the Harmony was damaged and fleeing. A dozen ships chased after them, eager for the kill. They bunched together, racing to be the first to destroy the human flagship. Sung had rigged the abandoned patrol ship to fly on autopilot. He aimed it straight at the formation and overloaded its reactor. "Detonation in 5 seconds, he announced. The patrol ship exploded like a small star going nova. The energy wave caught 7 ships and fried their systems. 2 more were damaged by debris. The rest of the fleet suddenly realized they were not fighting scared prey. They were fighting hunters. Sora IM, the station's head medic, was treating wounded in the medical bay. She had humans and even injured on her tables. When one of his Marines brought in a wounded pirate, she treated it just like everyone else. "Why?" the gasped through its translator. "I tried to kill you." Sora looked at it while she worked on its injuries. "Because you're hurt. On Earth we have a saying, we fight hard but we heal everyone." The footage of the battle was being broadcast across the galaxy. Millions of beings watched in real time as 200 humans and their alien allies held off a force 10 times their size. They watched Marines fight with tactics that hadn't been used in. They watched the Harmony dance through space like a warrior poet. And they watched when the commander finally gave the order to retreat. The remaining ships jumped away, leaving behind damaged vessels and captured pirates. The battle had lasted 4 hours. The humans had lost 1 ship and had 30 wounded. They had lost 12 ships and over 300 captured warriors. Stood on the bridge, exhausted but alive. Around him, his crew was cheering. In the background, he could hear similar celebrations from the Allied ships. "Did we just win?" asked, sounding dazed. "We survived," said. "That's the same thing." Was reading incoming messages. Her eyes were wide. "Captain, we're getting calls from everywhere. News agencies, governments, military organizations. Everyone wants to know how we did it." "Tell them the truth," said. "We did what humans do best. We adapted, we fought, and we refused to give up." The Galactic Council was watching too. In their chambers, the 5 ruling species sat in stunned silence as they reviewed the battle footage. "Impossible," the representative said. No one defeats thee in open combat. The humans did, the observed. Using primitive weapons, the added. Kinetic projectiles, chemical explosives, nothing sophisticated. But effective, the noted. Its tentacles waved in agitation. Very effective. The representative clicked its mandibles. We may have underestimated them. We, the said sharply. You voted to classify them as Class 9 primitives. We all did, the replied, and we were all wrong. Far away in Sector 47, Gray looked at his crew and smiled. They were bruised, tired, and running on adrenaline, but they were alive, and they had proven something important. Earth was not a laughingstock anymore. The summons came 3 days after the battle. Held the official communication tablet in her hands and read it for the 3rd time. The Galactic Council requires the immediate presence of Earth's representatives to address violations of peaceful conduct protocols. They're upset we fought back, said. She was still bandaged from the battle, but her eyes were bright with anger. We saved lives and they want to punish us for it. They want to make an example of us, said quietly. He stood at the window of his office, looking out at the repair crews fixing the station. If they let humans use military force without consequences, it changes everything. 10,000 years of peace, and we've disrupted it in 6 months. Peace, snorted. He had a black eye from hand-to-hand combat with a border. Peace for who? They have been raiding for decades. Where was the council then? Probably filing paperwork, Sung muttered. He was elbow-deep in a damaged power conduit. You know how bureaucracies work. Forms in triplicate, committees, meetings about meetings. Set down the tablet. We have to go. If we ignore this, they'll declare us outlaws. Everything we've built will be gone. Then we go, decided. But we go on our terms. You'll lead the delegation. Take whoever you need. I'm taking you, said firmly. And we need to show them we're not ashamed of what we did. 2 days later, the Harmony arrived at the council station again. This time, things were different. Ships from dozens of species were gathered around the station. News vessels with recording equipment. Private yachts belonging to wealthy merchants. Even military ships from various governments. Everyone wants to see the humans get judged, observed from the tactical station. Let them watch, said. Are you ready? Adjusted her formal jacket. This time she wore a small pin on her collar. It was the Earth flag, tiny but visible. I'm ready. The council chambers were packed. Every viewing gallery was full of alien species watching intently. The 5 council members sat on their floating platforms, looking down at Ware and stood. Ambassador Park, the representative began. Its crystalline body pulsed with light. You and your species have been accused of violating the Galactic Peace Accords. You engaged in military violence against another species. You used weapons designed to kill. You endangered lives in space combat. How do you answer these charges? Looked up at the council. Her voice was calm and clear. We defend ourselves and our allies. That's how we answer. Murmuring filled the galleries. The council members shifted on their platforms. Defense, the said, its gas cloud swirling. You call destruction and death defense. I call stopping pirates defense, replied. They attacked peaceful merchant ships. They murdered crews and stole cargo. They threatened to destroy our station and kill everyone inside. What would you call it? A criminal matter, the buzzed. To be handled through legal channels, not violence. Pulled out a data tablet. I have records here of 43 attacks in the past 5 years. Attacks in council space. Attacks on council citizens. I also have records of the council's response. Do you know what the average response time was? Silence. 6 months, continued. 6 months from attack to investigation. Another year for legal proceedings. By that time, the pirates were long gone and the victims were dead or ruined. Is that the legal channel you mean? The light flickered. You overstep, Ambassador. The Council's procedures have maintained peace for 10,000 years. Peace for those strong enough to defend themselves, said, speaking for the first time. What about the weak? What about the small merchant ships that can't afford council protection? They just die while you file paperwork. Captain, the warned, you are not helping your case. Stepped forward. With respect, council members, our case is simple. We were attacked. We fought back. We won. If that's a crime, then Earth is guilty. The tentacles waved in its tank. You celebrate violence. You bring weapons of war into civilized space. You teach others to kill. We teach others to survive, corrected. Since the battle, we've received over 300 requests for security training. 300 species want to learn how to protect themselves. Why? Because your system doesn't protect them. It protects the strong and leaves the weak to suffer. The council chamber erupted in noise. Some beings cheered. Others shouted in anger. The council members looked at each other with what might have been concern. They raised a crystalline limb for silence. This council cannot allow military force to become common practice. It would mean chaos, war, the end of civilization. No, a new voice said. Everyone turned. A young woman in an Earth diplomatic uniform stood up from the viewing gallery. She was tiny compared to most of the aliens around her, but her voice carried across the chamber. Permission to speak, she said formally. I am junior member of the Earth Diplomatic Corps and newly appointed observer to this council. The looked annoyed. This is highly irregular. So is charging a species with defending itself, replied. She walked down to stand within. I've studied galactic history for 5 years. I know about the Great Peace. I know how your ancestors decided that violence was too dangerous and all conflicts should be resolved peacefully. It was a beautiful idea. Then you understand why we must maintain it, the said. I understand why you started it, said, but I also understand what you've forgotten. Peace isn't the absence of violence. Peace is the presence of justice, and there is no justice when victims can't defend themselves. She activated a holographic display. It showed the battle in Sector 47 Gray. The humans fought, yes, but look at what else they did. They gave civilians time to escape. They aimed to disable ships, not destroy them. They captured pirates instead of killing them. They treated wounded enemies in their medical bay. They fought as little as necessary and showed mercy whenever possible. The footage shifted to show Sora I am treating a wounded pirate while explaining that humans heal everyone. The image was powerful. That is not war, continued. That's defense with honor. That's what Earth can teach the galaxy. Not how to make war, but how to make peace from a position of strength. Picked up the thread. We're not asking the Council to approve violence. We're asking you to recognize that sometimes the only way to stop violence is to stand against it. We offer a compromise. What compromise? They asked suspiciously. Upgrade Earth to Class 4 status, said. Grant us legal authority to operate security forces in Council space. In exchange, we will train any species that wants to learn how to defend themselves. We will protect trade routes. We will hunt pirates and criminals. And we will do it all under Council oversight. You want us to legitimize human military forces, the said. We want you to give victims a choice, said. The choice to stand up instead of lie down. The choice to fight back instead of surrender. The choice to live instead of die. The galleries were completely silent now. Everyone was watching the council. The light pulsed slowly. This is unprecedented. So are we, agreed. But we're also effective. Look at the data. Since humans started protecting Sector 47 Gray, piracy in the region has dropped to 0. Trade has increased 300%. Not a single civilian has been killed by criminals in our space. Can the Council say the same for the rest of the galaxy? The Council members looked at each other. Long moments passed. Finally, they spoke. We will vote. But first, a trial period. 6 months. Earth will operate security forces under temporary Council authority. If there are no incidents, if you maintain the peace rather than disturb it, we will reconsider your status. And if we refuse, asked, then Earth remains Class 9. Your outpost is closed. Your people are expelled from Council space. It was a trap and everyone knew it. 6 months to prove themselves perfect or lose everything, but smiled anyway. Earth accepts. The seemed surprised. You do. We do because we're not afraid of being tested. We're good at tests. We've been testing ourselves since we learned to walk upright. 6 months. We'll prove ourselves in 3. Step forward. The Galactic Defense Initiative begins today. Any species that wants security training is welcome. Any merchant that wants escort protection can hire us. Any victim of crime can call for help. That's our offer to the galaxy. Added, and any pirate, raider, or criminal who thinks they can prey on the weak will have to answer to Earth. The council dismissed them, but as and walked out of the chamber, they were mobbed by representatives from dozens of species. Everyone wanted to talk to them. Everyone wanted to hire them. Everyone wanted to learn from them. Walked alongside. That was risky. 6 months is not a lot of time. It's enough, said confidently. We didn't come here to play it safe. We came here to change the game. Above them, in the council chambers, the 5 ruling species watched the crowd gather around the humans. They're going to fail, they predicted. 6 months of responsibility and they'll make a mistake. Humans are too emotional, too violent, too primitive. Perhaps, they buzzed. Or perhaps we're about to learn that primitive doesn't mean inferior. The tentacles waved thoughtfully. Either way, the galaxy is watching, and for the first time in 10,000 years, things are changing. Back on the Harmony, Sung was already designing training programs, was scheduling security escorts, was negotiating contracts, was preparing cultural exchange programs. 6 months to save humanity's reputation, Sung said. No pressure. Smiled, we've faced worse odds. And somewhere in the void between stars they were regrouping. They had lost a battle but not the war. They were planning, waiting, preparing for revenge. But so were the humans. The game was far from over. 18 months had passed since Earth first arrived at the Galactic Council. The difference was like night and day. Han stood in the training center on Sector 47 Gray and watched his students practice defensive maneuvers. There was a learning how to use cover during combat, a practicing coordinated team tactics, 3 working on communication protocols, even a young learning basic weapons handling. Keep your formation tight, Han called out. He was a former Special Forces operator, a man who had trained soldiers on 3 continents back on Earth. You're protecting each other, not fighting alone. A student raised a crystalline limb. Instructor Han, this feels wrong. We are taught that violence is never the answer. Han walked over. I'm not teaching you violence. I'm teaching you defense. There's a difference. Violence is when you hurt someone because you want to. Defense is when you protect someone because you have to. But we've lived without this for so long, they said. Have you? Han asked gently. Or have you just been lucky that no one tested you? They have been raiding for decades. The only reason they didn't attack your people is because there were easier targets. That's not peace. That's just delayed danger. The training continued. By the end of the day, Han had certified 15 new security officers from 7 different species. They weren't soldiers. They were merchants and traders who wanted to protect their ships and crews, but now they had the skills to do it. Meanwhile, on the Harmony, was meeting with representatives from the Council Military Oversight Committee. They had come to inspect the Galactic Defense Initiative. We have trained over 600 individuals from 42 species, explained, showing them data on screens. We've escorted 371 merchant convoys. We've responded to 19 distress calls. Not a single civilian has been killed by pirates in any sector where we operate. The committee leader, unnamed, clicked its mandibles thoughtfully. Impressive, but we have concerns about your methods. You still use kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, very primitive tools. Primitive but effective, said. More importantly, they're simple. Any species can learn to maintain them. You don't need advanced technology to defend yourself. You just need the will to do it. And you are teaching that will, observed. We're teaching confidence, corrected. For 10,000 years, the galaxy has been taught to be afraid of conflict. We're teaching them they don't have to be afraid. They can stand up. They can protect themselves and others. On the station was giving a presentation to a group of cultural ambassadors. The topic was human philosophy on conflict resolution. We have a saying on Earth, explained. Walk softly but carry a big stick. It means be peaceful whenever possible but be ready to defend yourself when necessary. We don't seek violence but we don't run from it either. An ambassador flickered. But doesn't that attitude make conflict more likely? Does it? Asked. Since the GDI started operating, pirate attacks in Council space have dropped 60%. Trade has increased across the board. Civilian casualties are at an all-time low. We're not creating conflict. We're preventing it by making it too costly for criminals to operate. Was in her element, coordinating a massive security operation. 20 merchant ships were traveling together through a dangerous sector. The Harmony and 4 Allied vessels were escorting them. Stay in formation, transmitted to all ships. We go through this together. No one gets left behind. It was a simple concept, but revolutionary for the galaxy. Most species operated on an individual basis, every ship for itself. Humans introduced the idea of convoy protection, of mutual defense, of standing together. The convoy passed through the sector without incident. Pirates saw the formation and decided to look for easier prey elsewhere. But they were not done. Deep in unclaimed space, the warlord was gathering the largest pirate fleet in history. Over 200 ships, thousands of warriors. They had a single target in mind, the Galactic Council itself. The humans embarrassed us, snarled to his commanders. They made us look weak, but we are not weak. We will show the galaxy what happens when soft civilizations forget how to fight. The fleet began moving toward Council space. Their plan was simple and brutal. Attack the Council, overwhelm the defenders, prove that peace was an illusion. The attack would happen in 3 days. Detected the fleet movement first. Captain, we have a problem, a big one. Looked at the tactical display and felt his blood run cold. 200 ships, all heading for the Council. The planet held billions of civilians. Its defenses were ceremonial, designed for show rather than actual combat. How long until they arrive? Asked. 72 hours. Can the Council defend itself? Check the data. No, their planetary defense force hasn't seen real combat in. They have ships, but no one who knows how to use them in battle. The will tear through them. Was already working the communications. I'm calling an emergency meeting with the Council. They need to evacuate. They won't evacuate, said. Too many people, not enough ships, and if they abandon there, the Council falls. Everything collapses. Enter the bridge, then we defend it. With what? Asked. We have 30 ships at most. Trained crews, yes, but still vastly outnumbered. Then we make our 30 ships count for 60, said. He turned to, get me everyone, every species we've trained, every ally we've made, every ship that will answer the call. We're going to war. The next 72 hours were chaos. The Harmony raced to the Council. Behind them came a fleet of volunteers, merchant ships retrofitted with weapons, trading vessels with brave crews. Security forces from a dozen species. It wasn't an army. It was a collection of civilians who had learned one lesson from humans. Sometimes you have to stand and fight. Han arrived with his training ships, brought merchants who owed favors to Earth, coordinated with cultural allies, even sung welded weapons onto civilian ships. By the time the fleet arrived, There were 90 ships ready to defend the Council, still outnumbered but not as badly as before. Stood on the bridge of the Harmony and opened a channel to all defending ships. I know you're scared. I know most of you have never been in a real battle, but neither had we before 6 months ago. We learned. We adapted. We survived. Today, we teach the galaxy a lesson. We show them that peace is worth fighting for. The fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel in formation, broadcast a message to the planet below. Council members, you have 1 hour to surrender. After that, we take everything. His response was simple. This is Captain of Earth. The Council is under our protection. If you want them, you go through us first. Laughed, 90 ships against 200. You're outnumbered, human. We're used to it, replied. Last chance, turn back. The fleet opened fire. The battle that followed became legendary across the galaxy. Commanded from the Harmony, coordinating 90 ships like a conductor with an orchestra. He used every tactic humanity had developed over centuries of warfare, flanking maneuvers, feigned retreats, concentrated fire on key targets, psychological warfare. Managed the tactical display, calling out targets and threats. Formation breaking apart. They're not used to coordinated resistance. Was leading boarding defense teams on the planet's orbital stations. When warriors tried to land, they met organized resistance for the first time in their lives. Dong fought in the tight corridors of an orbital platform, his team moving like professionals. They weren't trying to kill. They were trying to capture, to show mercy even in combat. Sora had set up field hospitals on the planet's surface. She treated wounded defenders and captured alike. When a warrior asked her why she healed his wounds, she gave the same answer as before. Because you're hurt. We fight hard, but we heal everyone. The battle raged for 6 hours. Ships fell on both sides. The defenders lost 15 vessels, the lost 43. And then something happened that no one expected. Hands training ships, crewed by newly trained aliens, executed a perfect pincer movement that trapped 30 vessels. Instead of destroying them, they demanded surrender. 20 of the ships actually surrendered. Watched in disbelief as his warriors gave up. What are you doing? We do not surrender. But his warriors had learned something. The humans fought fiercely but showed mercy. They could win by surrendering and living or die for pride. More and more chose life. The tide turned. The fleet began to fracture. Some ships fled. Others surrendered. A few fought to the end, but they were overwhelmed by coordinated defense. Himself was captured when Dong's team breached his flagship. The warlord was brought before the council in chains, expecting execution. Instead offered him a choice. Stand trial for your crimes, accept punishment and rehabilitation, or choose exile from all council space forever. Stared at her, you defeated us, you should kill us. We're not like you, said simply. We fight to protect, not to destroy. You can join civilization or leave it, your choice. Most of the captured chose trial and rehabilitation. They were stunned that anyone would offer mercy to defeated enemies. It was a concept they couldn't understand, but couldn't refuse. The council convened in emergency session. Billions of civilians had been saved. The stood intact. And it was all because humans had taught the galaxy how to defend itself. The representative's crystalline form pulsed with what might have been embarrassment. We judged Earth harshly. We called you primitives. We laughed at your species. You did, agreed. She stood before the council, tired but proud. You saw our weapons and our violence and thought that's all we were, but you missed the most important part. What part? They asked. Stepped forward, the part where we smiled. We came here armed, yes. Ready to fight, yes, but also ready to make friends. Ready to teach and learn. Ready to protect not just our own, but anyone who needed help. That's what makes us human, not the weapons, the compassion behind them. Added her voice. Earth requests formal recognition as Class 2 status. equal standing with the founding members of the Council. We've proven ourselves not through conquest but through protection, not through destruction but through preservation. The Council voted. It was unanimous. Earth was granted Class II status. The Galactic Defense Initiative became an official Council organization. Han was named its commander. The galaxy had changed, and humanity had changed it. 6 months later, stood at the New Earth Embassy on the Council and raised a glass with. They looked out at the city below, where humans and aliens walked together. "We did it," said, "from Laughingstock to partners." "We showed them who we are," agreed. A young alien child, a small, approached in the embassy gardens. "Excuse me, officer, I have a question." Knelt down. "What's your question?" "Why do humans smile so much? Even when you carry weapons, aren't you supposed to be scary?" Thought about it, then smiled at the child. "The weapon isn't who we are. It's just a tool we use when we have to. The smile is who we are. We're warriors who want peace, fighters who choose mercy, and friends who will always stand up for what's right." The child processed this. "Can I learn to be like that?" "You already are," said. "Everyone can be. That's what we're teaching, that you can be strong and kind, brave and merciful, armed and smiling." Above them, ships from 100 species flew in formation. Human vessels alongside alien ones. All protected, all safe, all part of a new galaxy where weakness didn't mean helplessness and strength didn't mean cruelty. Earth had been the laughingstock of the galaxy, but they had shown up armed and smiling and taught everyone that both were necessary. The weapons kept you alive. The smile kept you human. And in the end, that made all the difference.